Hi, welcome to the award-winning Ed Brown Show. We have a very, very special show, and Dr. Williams is involved in it. We have the Soul Searchers. This is one man's quest to discover his true identity. You're talking about heartwarming. This is called The Soul Searcher, and we have our author here, Sidney Harrison. I mean, this young man is bringing you a story that really is heartwarming. And once again, I'd like to have Dr. Williams introduce your guest. Once again, another diamond in the rough.
Hello, everybody. I'm so pleased to be here today. I'm sitting next to a young man I hold in high esteem. I hold him in high esteem because approximately 3 years ago, when I talked to him about my book, Words Crossing Across, Word Search on Barack Obama, he said to me, Dr. Williams, I'm going to write a book. And I just listened to him and thought, oh, this young man is not going to write a book. I've heard this before. And I worked with him.
When they see yours, they want to write a book, right?
I worked with him in his campaign as he ran for county council there in District 9. I found him to be an honest person, a sincere person, a dedicated and hard-working person. And so I said to him at the end of the campaign, Sidney, I want to see that book. And you know what? I guess about a month ago, I talked to Sidney, and he said, Dr. Williams, my book is finished.
You were shocked, huh?
I was shocked, but I knew I had work to do for Sidney Harrison because he's the kind of person, if he tells you something or if he asks you to do something, he's going to stay on you. So he called me several times, and I said to him, there's no better show to be on than the Ed Brown Show. And here we sit today with a close friend of mine, someone I like very much, Sidney Harrison.
Okay, Sidney, you know, this adoption, most people think, adoption, you go through that, it's, 1, 2, 3. But in your book here, Soul Searchers, it's so heartwarming you pointed out the many, many positive things about adoption. And you're a living example of what adoption really is. And I couldn't put the book down. It was so heartwarming. I said, I got to read this before we go on the air, boy. I started, and I said, and I was amazed at your different ventures and travel. Okay, I'm turning it over to you now.
Oh, okay. Well, first and foremost, the evolutionary elders, Dr. Eugene Williams over here, so poetic in his words. It's truly an honor to have someone as Dr. Williams' experience and knowledge and wisdom to be able to lend a helping hand and bring somebody up. Dr. Williams is constantly in the community fighting for the rights of children, because children do have rights. He's in the public schools. He's spreading the word about education. And education is what brought this book to fruition. I've been raised and educated in Prince George's County, Maryland. I've owned my own business in Prince George's County, Maryland. I am the native son of Prince George's County, Maryland. And I have just written my first book called Soul Searcher in Prince George's County, Maryland.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that.
Congratulations.
I appreciate that.
I mean, you're a shining example of how the evolutionary elders is attempting to improve the communication between the young people and the people that have on their way out. But they want to leave something, and you're an excellent example. And with you completing this book, I mean, this is it. This is number one. I was amazed and enjoyed your book. And you're out there, I tell you, once you start reading it, you see this young man, how a value adoption is. He's not talking about adoption. He has lived adoption. and he's telling you the ups and downs, the positive and negatives,
Right.
and just I must I really you know, as far as this book, it took me back to a lot of things that happened in my life, you know,
Wow.
where I assumed, you know, being adopted was negative. You know, some people take that idea, you know, adoption. But here, this is a young man who's been through heaven and hell in order to be successful. And I'm so proud of him.
Yeah, I appreciate that, you know, Mr. Brown. One thing I will say is adoption saved my life. Adoption is the expansion of family. Adoption, we all adopt something in our lives. But what greater joy in the world is to be able to have the opportunity to save a child's life and adopt a child that needs a loving environment, that needs a safe environment. There's a negative connotation sometimes. I was speaking with someone the other day about adoption, and they expressed about how they did not want to adopt. They knew nothing about my story. They were looking at it as a negative where you pick up all the traits of the mother and father that could be negative and positive. And sometimes people think that the negative outweighs the positive. But I do know that love has the power to transcend any deficit. Not saying a child is a deficit, but you know, when you're starting from nothing and you have the ability to pick up the broken pieces of a child's heart and mend it back together, that is the true definition of unconditional love. And through this process, I've learned 3 important parts in life, okay? Through my story, I've learned that there's the struggle, there's the pain. The second is the process and the healing. But the third is the experience. What are you going to do with the experience of those things that you've learned in life? How are you going to impact society? And impacting society, Mr. Brown, is that you have to be honest with yourself. You got to be able to look at the naked truth and understand that there's going to be growth there. You know, being honest with oneself gives the ability to grow, gets the ability to learn, gives the ability to actually reach back, as Dr. Williams has done for me so many times in 3 years, to say, hey, young lad, I got you. I'm going to lift you up. People need to hear this story. Now, as I go into my story, Soul Searcher is, how do you expect to give to the world what you're supposed to give, your God-given gifts, if you don't understand your purpose? Now, the purpose is a voyage, okay? It is the journey of one willing to look at the naked truth, to understand, okay, how do I look at myself in the mirror each and every day and become better than I was yesterday? What am I supposed to gift? What am I supposed to gift into humanity? How am I supposed to evolve into humanity? So I went on this voyage of struggle, pain, hurt, okay? I went on that, but I also went on the voyage of healing and loving and giving back to others, okay? I think that's a very important voyage, a very important purpose. But how many of us wake up each and every day and don't really understand what that purpose and what that voyage is? It's going to take courage to go through that voyage.
Yes.
And I've always heard people say, oh, we're going to keep moving forward. Let's keep on moving forward. You can keep moving forward, but you must recognize the past. You must connect the dots and draw the picture. That way you know who you are and what you're supposed to be doing. And that's important, especially as a man. Because if we're supposed to be the example to our children, okay, our children are the greatest resource that we have to humanity. They are our future. We have to be that example. But if we don't know how to be the example, then there's going to be an issue that comes into fruition with that. And our children will pick up on that because our children are very smart. They're very intelligent. I do believe in the power of love. I do believe in the power of hope. I do believe in the power of community. My story evolves around community.
And perseverance.
And perseverance.
You were determined in that book to find your real mother, regardless of the situation.
Yes.
And to me, that was one of the most important things. Whereas you could have said, well, that's part of my life that I'm going to forget because my adopted parents are beautiful, so I'm not going to even worry about that. But you took the time to go and find your real birth mother. And then you took on other things, like going to South Africa and actually giving back. You know, a lot of people say, why would I go to South Africa with all the problems they had and the problems that you had? And why would you do that? And by you doing that, is so significant of what you're saying. You have to give back. And this is, then you came back, you know what I mean, after with that experience. Well, and you got into the system of Prince George County. You know what I mean?
Let me explain. I want to give to the audience a brief description of what me and you are talking about here.
All right, good.
I'm a man of faith, okay? I believe in the Almighty. I believe that God, He'll bring you to it, but He'll give you the strength to get you through it. And He knew that I could handle it. You know, sometimes we things happen in our lives that tend to harden our hearts. But I do know that sometimes in life you got to be able to make a rose grow on concrete. How do you do that? How do you water and nourish that flower to make it grow? And the most painful lessons in life are our greatest blessings. My failures, my pain was my greatest strength. It was just up to me to figure out how do I project that into a positive image that can create an energy that gives the power to heal. That's life's greatest asset, is learning how to heal and love. And I think as I walk you down this voyage, as I give you a brief description of what happened, I was born on September 17th, 1974. I weighed 2 pounds, 1 ounce. I had gangrene in my intestines. I had a herniated bowel. My nervous system was shot, and I needed a blood transfusion. I had less than 10% chance of survival. Now, one might ask, well, how does that happen? Well, this great book right here reveals those startling answers. As I go through the journey, as I learn of the vicious and violent details that my birth mother had to experience in order to give me life. And now we're talking about 1 year removed from the biggest decision that our country has ever had, Roe versus Wade. I was born in 1974. Those events transpired back in 1973, okay? Now, the adoption thing is very interesting as well, because even though I was left abandoned in the hospital, I can understand why something like that happens after I got all the answers. So I wasn't really that quick to judge, but yes, I did hold some resentment at first. What I also learned was that the system, okay, when my parents were trying to adopt me, went through a 3-year battle to try to adopt me. There was a court struggle. There was, I was supposed to only stay with them for 6.5 weeks. Ended up turning to 2.5 years before they tried to take me away. Now, the reason why was the argument in court was that they thought that this biracial baby at the time was going to lose his identity. Because we're talking about the year 1978 at this point. Cross-racial adoptions weren't prevalent in the United States, okay, as they are today, all right? So there was a racial composition issue here. But my parents, they are Caucasian, okay? They took the system head on. My mom, standing 5 foot even, weighing 105 pounds, believed in the power of home, love, and family and community. She said, why would you take this child away from me when this child, this home, is the only thing this child has ever known? You're just going to uproot him and put him into another environment, and yet we have proven that this environment has been successful. Okay? So there was a racial composition and there was a racial fight there that the system was trying to predicate towards my family. Through the years, though, my parents taught me and my siblings that true love has no color. True love is real. But within that, within the surrounding environment of walls, the brick and the mortar and the windows, inside that environment is where the foundation of dreams rest on. I'm a 38-year-old man, Mr. Brown, and I'm still pursuing my dreams. Now, have I fulfilled them? I'll say I'm trying to set the example of fulfilling them. And I believe that you dictate to the world what you want out of life. Don't let the world dictate to you. So within that, this journey of through the adoption, I was adopted, okay? But along with that adoption, because of the ailments that I had when I was first born, as you can see, well, how does that happen? How do you have these medical conditions? I was born to, I was actually a border baby, okay? I was born to a drug-addicted mother at the time. She was a runaway that lived on the streets. She was, there was some human trafficking going on, sex trafficking. Young teenage girl. The dangerous elements of the world consumed her young life. And she had no one to turn to. And this type of behavior ensued. And that's why those things that happened to me the day I was born, why she left. Because she didn't even know herself. She was a runaway looking for love in all the wrong places. And when you're talking about sex trafficking, you're talking about being a sex slave to feed somebody else's addictions, to make money for somebody else to feed their drug addictions. That is not what our society is supposed to be about. Our society is supposed to be about love. Our society is supposed to be about giving our children a chance to succeed in life. And I am a product of the most heinous acts of violence bestowed upon a woman. I don't condone that type of behavior, but you can beat me down with everything in this world. But I guarantee you the weapons that you try to beat me down with, I'm going to use them as a positive. And, but I didn't know all those. You know, I'm getting a little too far ahead of myself here. I didn't know all that stuff. I went through years of a journey and struggle, confusion, standing in front of the mirror at age 13. Who do I look like? Where do I get my nose from? Where do I get my eyes from? Whose facial expressions do I have? Oh, I know my birth mother. She just made one wrong decision. I'm going to find her. My birth mother is some perfect woman. You know, she just couldn't take care of me at the time. Those are the things that were playing through my mind over and over again, all the way up into adulthood. I still had that same perception all the way into adulthood as I was evolving, trying to become a man into society, okay? And along with the other confusion that I had with my educational issues with dyslexia, with the bullying and the name calling, and then along with the confusion of who my family was. Why can't I look like my brothers and sisters? That was important to me. trying to find your way, trying to be cool, trying to hang with your friends that you just wanted to fit in. But I knew I had all this confusion going on in me. But I also knew there was something special about me. I think as a society, do you remember growing up, Mr. Brown and Dr. Williams, when
Certainly.
your mother or father would come over to you and say, "You're special. I love you." And they would hug you, and you could feel that positive energy. I got that. I'm not going to deny that. But because of my special needs, I felt like it was a hindrance. I didn't want to be special. I wanted to be cool. Because I didn't understand what that word really meant. I think if we did a lot more of that today, man, our future for our children, I mean, there's nothing stopping us.
Absolutely.
We as a society have to take the time to find out what that special, unique gift is in that child and bring that special quality out, because that's what's going to make them successful. Take the time to understand who this child is.
Yes.
You know, when things happen to kids and they tend to get in trouble, there's also things that have been happening in their lives way beyond before that situation happened. What did we do to make sure that didn't happen?
Sidney, that's a very important point, and I hope that the viewers, if there are any teachers out there who are working with these young people, that they would in fact understand what you're saying and take it under consideration as they work with the young boys and girls, particularly the young boys and girls here in Prince George's County, Maryland. I'd like the parents to consider that as well. I mean, that's a valid point here.
Yeah.
And you thought about that when you were writing this book. You were given information about the things that you experienced, not somebody told you about, but the things that you have to face. And this what some youngsters don't have that ability to do that. And that's why it's just fantastic for you to come out with a story, letting the people know, regardless of the problems that you have, you know.
You know, Ed, when I met this young man, I didn't know his story. There's a song, "You Don't Know My Story," and I certainly didn't know his story. But I'm glad I took the opportunity to get to know him, to hear his story, and now I feel good about helping them to promote the story, as particularly as it deals with adoption.
Yes.
That's so very, very, very important to me. And, you know, I would work with an individual like this young fellow forever because he's honest, he's sincere, he's dedicated, he's had hard times, as I had hard times, but not like that.
Yes.
And I like that.
And this Soul Searcher is this. I was going to say novel, but this is a true story that, I mean, it's a lesson that all of us need to learn. You know what I mean? This is not just for the young people, just the adopted, just people. Everyone has problems in their life. And how you look at them, like you were saying, that's the way you overcome. You take negative things and make them positive. See, right? Now, you had a presentation you don't make.
I want to give him something. This is a book, Words Crossing Across, Word Search on Barack Obama, that I told Sidney about. And Sidney said, "I like words, and I certainly would like to have that book." Well, I have the opportunity now to give him that book.
All right.
And then there's another book, The Secret, His Word Impacting Our Lives. Can you see how his life was impacted?
Yes.
By the Word, a man of faith. I want to give him these two books, and I want him to hold them close to him. And you see, I said 2 books. So I'm expecting him to write a second book. Along the way. So Sidney, this is for you. And God bless you.
God bless you. Thank you.
Sidney, you want to give us a parting word about this book?
Yes. As the show closes, if anybody's interested out there about learning more about Soul Searcher, One Man's Quest to Discover His True Identity, my website will be displayed at the end of this program. Also will be my contact information. If anybody's interested in serving with me in the community, please feel free to email me, because the greatest thing we can do in life is the act of service to others, is the gift of service. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
I'm so very, I like to end the program, I'm so very proud of you.
Thank you,
and
sir.
the thing that you've done. Now, you've reached into the political system of Prince George County.
Yes.
Now, this is something some youngsters, you know, they use excuse for not getting involved. But being involved in the political system is the key to success. Mm-hmm. The key to success, as you know, you're a businessman. You're in real estate, mm-hmm. and you know, and you came from a real estate background, mm-hmm. knowing that businesses is the key. Mm-hmm. So I'm just saying, next time you go, just look around and see Soul Searchers, and I tell you, when you finish reading that, it'll change your mind, because it tells you adoption is positive. See you next time. You.